In this video, I'm going to go over the level 2 diaphragmatic breathing training series. The purpose of this series is to condition the diaphragm in positions that are commonly seen either in everyday life or during a workout. If you haven't already gone through the level 1 series, I suggest going through that, making sure you are conditioned in those positions. So that could take a couple weeks or so before starting out on this series. So we have more positions in level 2. We have the split standing position. We have the tabletop or quadruped position. We have half kneeling, and then wall facing, arms overhead, and then back to the wall, cactus arms. All of these positions are really critical to specifically think about the diaphragm in any training, particularly after coming back from an injury or after having a baby. If there is a position that is just too challenging, that's okay. You don't have to stick in level 2 series. You can do some of the positions in level 1 and then some of the positions in level 2. So don't feel like you have to force yourself if you're not quite ready. First position is the quadruped or tabletop position. Come down into hands and knees, and feet or knees are directly underneath your hips, toes are curled under, and then hands fingers are spread out, wrists are stacked directly underneath your elbows and shoulders, and your wrists are definitely underneath your shoulders. In this position, you want to make sure that you're not dumping like this, meaning you saw me here and then this was me dumping. Like this is me just completely resting in this position. Press through the floor to get into a neutral spine position and get into the most neutral head and neck position as you can. This is not neutral. Eyes are going to be directly center between your pointer fingers. And then, as with level 1 breathing, you're taking a deep breath. Chest, belly, and ribs expand equally and hopefully at the same time. And then you exhale, breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth. You can box breathe this, where you are breathing in for a count, aiming about 3 to 5 count, and then holding for the same amount, and then exhaling for the same amount, and then not breathing for the same amount. Or you could simply just breathe in and then breathe out. Just try to slow down your exhale with the shape of your mouth, and try to really breathe in through your nose if you can. As you breathe, you want to make sure that your spine does not change positions. This can get tiring because you have to really use your arms to maintain a neutral position versus just dumping. If you're one that your elbows tend to hyperextend, make sure that they're not completely straight, like extra straight or over straight. So soften your elbows. Mine are not, so I can't demonstrate. And then it might be helpful to turn your elbows, the elbow crease in the front to the front, and then the back of your elbow to the back of the room. And then pressing your fingers into the floor. That can also help maintain a neutral position. Be sure you're not in this, because that is not neutral. This is flexed. This is not neutral. This is overextended. Now everyone's going to be a little bit different, but play around with it to find your neutral. Next is the half kneeling position. Half kneeling is where one knee is directly underneath your hip. This is hip extension. And then the other leg is forward like this. Now, if you do have some mobility restrictions in your hips, you may need to stack a prop underneath. So I have a yoga block here. That can help. Let me show you from the side. Just to give you some freedom in the opposite hip. Otherwise, Easiest way to get into the position is getting into a tall position and then bringing your other leg through. As you are in this position, shin is perpendicular to the floor, knee is in line with your foot. Your back foot is active, your toes are there. If you do have a toe injury, you can't get in that position, you can do that. You don't have to get into this position. Biggest thing is it's getting out of this extended position. You want your spine in neutral, so draw your belly button in or tuck your tailbone just a little bit. You don't want to be too flexed, just want to be in neutral. And then this is the position. So notice my shoulders, hips, and knee are almost in a line, as well as my ear. And then you might need to hold it onto something. If not, place your hands on the sides of your ribs or here and breathe deeply in through your nose, out through your mouth, aiming for about a 3 to 5 count. Exhale. Repeat 10 to 20 reps or 1 to 2 minutes, and then switch sides. The other thing I'm noticing here is it's going to be uncomfortable on your kneecap. You may want to put a pillow or a towel underneath your kneecap to soften that. After doing both sides, the next position is a split standing position. For what I see is sometimes the half kneeling position is a little bit too much, either for the hip or through the hip flexor muscles or the fascia here. So what you may think that the split standing position is a little bit easier, just because it's not so much pulling in the front of your thigh and it's not so much closure into the front hip. Split standing position is where your feet are hip width apart and your back leg is, notice that my thigh is in extension, so behind my body. If I start here, I'm gonna curl, or I'm gonna press away from the floor by pressing through the ball of my feet. I'm gonna think get tall. So get tall, I'm squeezing the calf muscles in the back here. All the while, my front shin is vertical with the floor. My knee is in line with my feet, so I might need to press my knee out a little bit. So what that could look like is if you're here, you want to make sure press your knee out. And as you're getting in the position, you want to make sure that your hips are square to the front in line with your shoulders. To get your pelvis in neutral, think tuck your tailbone under, but not too much. And then also, you could also think about just gently pulling your belly button in. And if we haven't gotten there, we'll get there later. Otherwise, you're going to be here. You want your ribs as much stacked over your pelvis as you can. That's going to give the diaphragm the best chance to adapt back into a stacked position over time. So aiming to get there. And all the while, let's say if you fix this, but then this comes undone or something comes undone. There's a lot of moving parts. So just focus on one thing at a time. Try to get in the best position as you can, but just get in one position at a time. You might need to hold on to something, that's totally okay. And then you're going to repeat the breathing process, the breathing sequence in this position for 10 to 20 reps, 1 to 2 minutes, and then the other side. 10 to 20 reps, 1 to 2 minutes. That was split standing position. Next position is the wall facing, arms overhead position. So feet are directly underneath your hips. Pinkies are on the wall. And you can get as close as the wall as you can if you'd like, as long as your ribs stay stacked and you're in neutral spine. So if I go overhead and I have to do this, arching my back, don't go that far. So you're here, pinkies on the wall, chin is tucked, spine is in neutral and long. And you repeat the breathing sequence in this position. With your arms overhead, it is harder. So as you breathe in, you might not get as much air as in some other positions. And then exhale. Not forcing the exhale, just letting the air come out and slowing it down through the shape of your mouth or using your teeth as well. 10 to 20 reps in this position, 1 to 2 minutes. Keeping your spine neutral as you take that deep breath. Next position is back to the wall. And I'm going to demonstrate how I'm getting onto the wall in a moment. Cactus arms. So your upper arms are at 90 degrees or parallel to the floor. Hey, see how my hands are here? I'm going to rotate them so that my thumbs are against the wall. My elbows do not have to be on the wall. In fact, if they do and you're coming down, I don't want your elbows on the wall. Index fingers may be on the wall as well. And then spine is in neutral. So I'm going to get into a side on to the camera so you can see. Now, I don't want you here, but I don't want you overly flexed into the wall. My feet are about a foot away from the wall. I'm not fully in a squat. I'm just using the wall as a shelf. Ribs are over my pelvis. And I'm going to maintain this position. My head does not have to be on the wall. And then I'm going to practice the breath. As I breathe in, I want to try not to come off the wall at all. I want to keep it contained in the spots, ribs, chest, belly. If your pecs are super tight, you may not get a super deep breath. That's okay. You might feel a lot of expansion in your chest, and that's great. The tightness of your chest, or the resistance of your pecs, is actually kind of like a weight if you were weight training. You will get better as you continue to practice. You can modify this position and sit. What that would look like is you would get into the same position as I showed you in level 1 sitting. So you get closest to the wall as you can and neutral as you can and do the exact same thing. That might be a little bit more difficult for some people if they have certain stiffnesses in some areas compared to others, and vice versa. So everyone, it's going to be different. So in this video, we covered 5 different positions: tabletop, split standing or half kneeling, split standing, wall facing arms overhead, cactus arms on the wall. All of these positions are a lot more challenging than level 1 positions because they are putting things on stretch. They're forcing certain postural muscles to work, or you're supporting your body weight. And so that adds either load or resistance for your diaphragm to contend with if you're maintaining technique. Where I suggest people to start is 10 to 20 breath cycles or 1 to 2 minutes in each position, 1 to 2 rounds. Once this gets pretty easy and you can easily maintain neutral position, then you can move on to the next series. If you've done this for a couple weeks, you're probably ready to move on to the next series. Check with me or whoever you're working with if you need that feedback. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, post them in the comments below. Reach out to me via email or the other ways that I've suggested we communicate. Or if you like the video, please press the like button. And I will see you on the next video, which is either going to be this 3rd series or other parts of the deep core rehab series. Thank you so much for watching.